Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring DeviantBum in our bottom left corner playing our teal Protoss, and in the top right we have DarrenC, our red Zerg. Both players are in Masters. We are on Cloud Kingdom? Cloud Kingdom. It's got the doodads. Yes. PvZ, kind of known for its early game aggression coming out of the Zerg, and your late game death balls coming out of Protoss. If Zerg can manage to get up a buttload of expansions, it's usually not in bad shape to deal with that death ball, especially if they can get up the unit air composition that they need to deal with the Protoss. But Protoss, if they can get up that death ball before the critical number of corruptors hit, they insta-win, they just crush. Otherwise, they end up relying a lot on the mothership and her vortex ability. So that's StarCraft in a minute right there. We know everything about StarCraft now. Yes. Pylon being placed on the low ground. Gonna see a Forge Fast expand out of DeviantBum. This is pretty good. Last game, DeviantBum got kind of sheltered into his two-base play. Really couldn't afford ever to get a third base. Couldn't really move out because of his unit composition. And Darren really just controlled the entire map. Got up a ridiculous number of expansions. Had a fantastic economy. And steamrolled Darren in the late game. Even though Darren got up to the Colossi Tech, really didn't have the ground units necessary to defend them. Had a bunch of zealots and that's it. So I hope DeviantBum manages at least to get up his natural and then progress along the pathway of tech that he wants to progress on. Or if failing that, he manages, a third, or keeps DarrenC stuck up on just a two-base Zerg. I think that would make the matchup a little bit more interesting next time, because Darren just pulled ahead by such a large amount in that first game. It kind of got stagnant there for a little while, just waiting for Darren to drop the heavy end of the hammer. It looks like DeviantBum, though, is scouting around at the natural, just having his probe poking there. Just whenever that Expo decides to drop, Darren, though, has his spawning pool finishing right now before he decides to drop down that expansion. Plenty of money for it, though. I'm sure he'll be sending down the drone shortly. Nexus has been started for DeviantBum. He's going to take that Nexus actually going down before Zerg drops down his own hatchery. That's pretty interesting. There goes the drone for it, and unfortunately the probe is not in position to stop this. This hatchery will go up handily. Very cool there. Unfortunate for DeviantBum, though. He pulled his probe away just for 1 second. About time for him to go home, though, because the queen's going to be popping out shortly. And it was probably a good idea to pull your probe up there, because the hatchery was so delayed. You've got to be wondering, what is he building inside? He'd come up and see 2 gas and a roach warren, and he'd know to hurry on home and deal, get this wall up nice and tight. Start chrono boosting out units. Photon cannon is being built. The wall off is not quite complete. There we go. Another faux little pylon there, completing the wall off. I think you do have a little bit of a gap in between the two structures, but that is no big deal. This first zealot's gonna shore up those defenses quite nicely. Nexus is gonna finish, and DeviantBum is going to be well on his way to the economy that he wants. First assimilator underway. I expect to see another gas being dropped shortly. DarrenC. First queen out, second queen on the way. We have the hatchery being dropped at the third as well as the natural. So this is shaping up to look an awful lot like the last game. I don't think Darren has to worry about too much aggression coming out of DeviantBum anytime soon, and that affords him the opportunity to just demolish him in terms of real estate. He gets out all the mineral count that he needs, and his economy just blooms in like 10 minutes. It's going to be fantastic. Look at that. We were down by, I think it was Forge Harvester count, and now all of a sudden they're neck and neck because of those larva injects, because he can just afford to produce 5 drones at a time. It's intimidating whenever the Zerg is allowed to just run rampant like that. And I think the only thing that's DeviantBum has going for him is the fact that he's got 2 gas already down, 3rd gas on the way. Yes, both gases being grabbed by DarrenC right now, but he's going to be behind in that. He's going to be behind in tech. And if Protoss can tech up to the right units and engage in a rather cost-effective manner, then there's absolutely no reason why a 2-base can't deal with a 3-base Zerg, which is what makes the matchup so dynamic. Already working on some of that higher tech, getting that +1 out for the ground weapons. Super key in this matchup because it makes those zealots 2-shot these Zerglings. Drone saturation looking fantastic at both expansions for DarrenC. He's going to be working on that third very, very soon. In fact, you can see that the 31 to 28 doesn't seem like a lot, but you can look at the mineral income. 200 points difference, and that's going to, that 200 minerals will turn into 4 more drones, and then those 4 drones will turn into 4 more, and it's going to be an orgy of drones shortly. Orgy of drones. A lot of gas, though, for DeviantBum. 2 more for DarrenC, then. He's getting out a couple more gateways. He's going to need that infrastructure later, but with just 3 gateways, I expect we're going to see something else soon. 4 gateways total. I hope it's not just a 4-gate. He's got 2 bases out. The tech structure is going to be built as soon as this Overlord clears, I imagine. Not just another gateway. He's teasing me. Deviant is teasing me. Back on DarrenC's side of things, he's got quite a lot of gas income. Nothing to spend that gas on just yet. Evo Chamber and Roach Warren being built. Overlord sees all and knows all that. Sentry will clean it up eventually, but for the time being, it looks like DeviantBum is just content to get out a handful of gateways to hold that front door. Is probably going to wait until that Overlord goes down before he throws down some important tech structure. I imagine it could be a Twilight Council just based on the number of gateways we see, but a Robo with a Warp Prism could also be very effective because he's got to know that DarrenC built a ridiculous number of expansions last time, and those expansions are going to be very vulnerable to some sort of drop play, and that the Warp Prism could definitely do that. +1 Zealots going in against the unupgraded Zerglings. Going to find a Queen and engage the Zerglings. I don't think the Zerglings are going to be able to do anything, but as long as the Queen stays alive, she should be able to deal with these Zealots eventually, especially if she stays on creep. The Zealots are chasing the Queen down. It looks like one of them's going back to work on a handful of the handful of the Zerglings backed by the natural. Oh, that Queen goes down. That pays for itself right there. These Zealots have done what they needed to do. Another round of 4 Zealots, and this harassment from DeviantBum is doing 2 things for him. It's allowing him to get up the tech that he needs and also get up the 3rd Nexus that he desperately needed last time. Twilight Council and Robo, which is what he was waiting for with that with the Overlord in his base. He couldn't throw that down and expose to DarrenC the pathway he was going to do. But the Zealots have served their purpose. They're allowing DeviantBum at least a little bit of time to get up that 3rd, get it saturated, and get it fully mining. And unfortunately, there's quite a lot of roaches on the ground, so DeviantBum will be in a little bit of a fight if he manages to hold this 3rd at all. That Robo has finished, though, and if we can Chrono Boost out some Immortals, he shouldn't have too much of a problem against the roaches that we can see moving out of DarrenC's home base. Haven't grabbed the gas off at the 3rd, which is surprising because you really do need that gas, especially in the later game. Pathogen Glands on the way. Probably going to finish shortly, and we'll get some more Infestors out on the field, but that Infestor Pit's more likely just a stepping stone to the Greater Spire later on, but in order to do that, you need more gas. Those warp gates are just standing by to warp in a plethora of ground units. It looks like the warp-in actually happened up at the natural. Some sentries just crawling in, throwing down a handful of force fields to hold back the roaches. Actually really good force fields, splitting up 4 to the top and the majority of them down to the south, allowing the stalkers to engage, just doing their little bit of extra damage against armored. They're biding their time, waiting for that first immortal that has just popped out now and is probably on its way down to this engagement. Looks like the stalkers might be able to clean this up. Do they have blink? No, blink is just a couple of seconds away, but +1 is already done and +2 is underway. Wow, 1-1 already. Fascinating. 2 more geysers being grabbed for DarrenC, so now he's up to that 6 geysers, and that'll definitely help finance him as he moves into the air tech. The robotics bay is also down, so we'll see some Colossi out on the field. This is much better for DeviantBum. He really needed this 3rd in the last game. I think this is more of his home, where he macros out a ridiculous number of huge units, because it's very comfortable for Protoss to do that. But DarrenC's been on 3 base for a significantly longer amount of time. And it looks like he's using this opportunity to grab a 4th, which is not a bad play at all. Doesn't really want to expand down where the pylon is, but grabbing some more real estate, even if it's not going to be saturated for a while, just some opportunity that will produce. DeviantBum will want to force an engagement eventually, and if DarrenC takes this base, this is the place where DeviantBum's going to push. And if he pushes to an empty base, he's not going to lose any drones. You're not going to lose any of your economy. You'll lose a base, but it's basically just a fail-safe place to target, and it's something that a lot of people don't take into account. They're like, "Oh, he lost a base. That's terrible." No, it's really not, because the only thing he lost was a hatch rate. He didn't lose any saturation. He didn't lose anything that he can't remake instantly. It's something that you can't really overlook. First Colossus is underway, as well as the extended thermal lance, but the Spire is also being built up at Darren's base. So the longer that DeviantBum waits, the more exposed those Colossi are going to be whenever they push out. Quite a lot of Stalkers are out on the field, though, so that's some powerful anti-air that can be afforded. The blink is done, but 4 Stalkers get caught off guard, 3 of which go down almost instantly. Another big fungal growth. Ooh, on the entire army of DeviantBum, throwing out the force fields, trying to expel some of that energy before they go down. A lot of infested Terran as the roaches get completely cleaned up. Only 2 infestors are left. Oh, there's a handful of roaches off in the background, but only 1 infestor survives and pushes back, and that's really what you want to keep alive. Those infestors are worth far more than the roaches as they do push back. But remember, DeviantBum keeping that third, keeping that economy, and his economy is looking fantastic. You know, yeah, Zerg's got more mining, he's got more real estate, but DeviantBum's just really biding his time, waiting to get up that death ball so that he can push out and just demolish everything that Darren has ever made. And the more time that DeviantBum has to chrono boost out those Colossi, you can see he's making 2 of them at a time. He got another robotics facility out. The better shape DeviantBum's going to be against Darren. Darren having to force the engagement once again, this time without the added support of those infestors, just some Zerglings and some roaches coming down from the south side where the force fields from the sentries aren't going to be as great of a boon to DeviantBum. Hopefully that will swing the tide in his favor. 1-2 against 2-1. No one, upgrades are pretty much even, but this is a huge equalizer for DeviantBum, coming with 3 Colossi, even though the ground army for DeviantBum was kind of devastated there because those roaches really didn't get hit by the force fields that DeviantBum had in the first matchup. This second matchup is really gone in the favor of DeviantBum, and he can push back with his army all the way back to the front door, and all of a sudden DarrenC's got to be waiting for those 15 Corruptors on the way. Holy crap. Those Colossi are going to go down very, very quickly. Have to be very careful with those. Just 3. A lot of the Stalkers have gone down in that initial engagement. Oh, wicked force field right there, keeping them back, but the Observer is within range, sees that the roaches have crawled underneath that force field. All of those Corruptors are going to be swooping in. These 3 Colossi have to be very, very careful. Remember, these Stalkers have blink. They should be able to chase down those Corruptors, but you know how exposed you want those Stalkers to be. Big fungal growth going down at the top of the ramp where all of the Stalkers had choked up, and now the combined fire almost enough to one-shot those Colossi. 1 goes down, second one goes down, the third volley, the third falls, and now all of a sudden the Stalkers are totally by themselves, exposed to a buttload of Zerglings and roaches, and all of a sudden DeviantBum doesn't have the intimidating army that he thought he did, you know, a little while ago. He pushed out before he had that critical number, before he had full upgrades, and he ran into 15 Corruptors. What are you going to do against that? That is it's pretty rough. However, he's got a fantastic infrastructure at home. 2 more gateways on the way. Another round of Stalkers have survived because they got warped in on the low ground and pulled back just in time. And hopefully, if he can pull back and just keep on that third base, get back to max pretty quickly, hopefully he'll be able to push up north and engage in more favorable circumstances. Unfortunately, with all those Corruptors on the field, they're quickly becoming Broodlords, and that is a bear to deal with. Getting the Stargate out, which will hopefully reclaim some of that air superiority, but against so many Corruptors, I don't know what DeviantBum can do. Pulling back with the Stalkers, hopefully he continually creates more of them to provide the much-needed anti-air to keep these Colossi alive so they can melt away a lot of the Zerglings and Roaches that are on the field. A handful of Broodlords. Not so much that DeviantBum can't deal with them. It looks like he's trying to take a 4th. I don't know how wise that is. He's definitely got the minerals, though, so you know, no harm there. Dropping out some photon cannons for detection. Unfortunately, he can't quite detect that DarrenC has almost a maxed army waiting in the wings. His 4th is fully mining at this point because his his main's pretty much mined out. He's going to have to take another expansion. It looks like that's going to be up in the top left corner. This is heating up. DeviantBum had enough time to get his unit composition back up to 150 supply, and as things are now, I think he should be able to hold his own against at least a mild engagement from DarrenC. I think if DarrenC really wanted to press the issue, he could take him to the House of Pain, just based purely on Broodlords and Corruptors. But it will be close, and depending on the force fields, depending on the unit position, I could see either player winning this. This could be a really big equalizer. Where's the fleet beacon? There's the fleet beacon. So if we get a mothership out on the field and a nice vortex could suck in maybe even just the corruptors and leave those colossi alive for a couple of seconds so that they can deal the damage needed to take out this this ground army from Darren. That could be another thing that really swings in his behavior, in his favor. Man, I'm stuttering. What is this? More Broodlords. Fantastic. It looks like that fourth is going to go up, but DeviantBum's not willing to, expend his entire army defending it, keeping it away from the ground. The low ground, it looks like where is he bringing in that mothership? Right here, back at the Nexus. Oof. This is going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. I don't think DeviantBum has enough to take out this army, and as we approach max, Darren's now 100% at max. He's just going to begin banking minerals. Wow, a Zergling run by at the main, and then a little poke down at the fourth to distract them. It looks like the main army from DeviantBum is pushing up into the common ground. This is getting really tight. The Broodlords begin to push down into the common ground and begin to hack away at the supporting photon cannons there. Quick blink from all the stalkers trying to get underneath all of the Broodlords. Pay very close attention to those Broodlords, because if DarrenC loses them, that's just an enormous chunk of his army. It looks like, check out the minimap, all the Zerglings have gone down in the main base. There was a Dark Templar there dealing some damage. A couple Broodlords are being microed, sort of down to the right, down to the left, making it so that even if there was a quick blink in, he'd only take out one or two of the Broodlords, and that's exactly what happens. Stalkers blinking in, a huge number of Stalkers, one-shotting all of the Broodlords. Another blink sending half of them to the low ground, even though they were partially surrounded by the Zerglings and Roaches, saving a large chunk and bringing them within range of the AoE from the Colossi. The Corruptors have turned on the Colossi, and this engagement is absolutely just wrecking havoc on DeviantBum Stalkers. Everything has gone to pieces. All the Broodlords are completely down, but the ground superiority swings heavily in Darren's favor. He's got 9 more Broodlords on the way, 88 Zerglings, and they're going to just sweep in here and do massive damage, warping in the Broodlords on the high ground well within range of DeviantBum, but DeviantBum just does not have the anti-air necessary to take down these Broodlords before they pop, and the Stalkers have to pull back and basically sack this fourth base. All of a sudden, DeviantBum is back where he did not want to be. He's back on 2-base mining. Only a handful of mineral fields exist back at the main base, basically ceding the fourth base to Zerg, and I think that's going to be game, because without that economy, there is absolutely nothing that DeviantBum can do to get himself back into this game. Handful of Dark Templars out, some becoming Archons. The mothership is out, but she doesn't have enough energy for a vortex, and even if she did, you could vortex the Broodlords or the Roaches, but even half this army could decimate this match. DeviantBum beginning taps out. Good game, man. Really good game. Any game that Protoss gets out a mothership is a good game, and that massive battle down here, I really don't know what he did wrong, because it's always a good idea to blink in your Stalkers and take out a handful of Broodlords. I think maybe he missed by blinking his entire army right here instead of just half. He could have blinked half his Stalkers down to the low ground, and then the other half he could have blinked backwards, because whenever he blinked, he only got around half of it onto the low ground. Then the other half had blinked, but they were so far to the right that they just blinked over still on the high ground, and they remained surrounded and got eaten up by all of the Zerglings. I don't know. Maybe not pushing at the very beginning like that could have swung it in his favor. I would appreciate your thoughts. I'd also appreciate your games. If you guys have any games you want me to cast, I'd love to hear from you. You could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.